If you stutter, you're in very good company tonight. And as we like to say down south, you're in high cotton. If you're here for the first time, you're in for a real treat. Emily Blunt and her co-stars on the set of NBC Universal The Huntsman just sent a note and a very generous donation in honor of tonight's gala. The Stuttering Foundation has had another stellar year. We completed our newest video, Kids Who Stutter Parents Speak. It was sent free to 24,000 therapists across the country, 55,000 pediatricians, and 8,900 public libraries. A lot of folks. We expanded the circulation of our newsletter to 106,000 people, many of them overseas, and the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. Some of you may have this famous people poster in your office or classroom or home. One particularly famous person who stutters had hoped to be with us tonight, Vice President Joe Biden. He has been a friend of the stuttering community for many years, and we are pleased to share his letter with you tonight, and I quote, "As you know, I personally understand the terrible fear and frustration of a stutter. My stutter embarrassed me as a child. It made me question myself and my abilities. But I was lucky to find love and support through my family. It was constantly reinforced that I was every bit as bright and capable as any of the other kids. In a world where people who stutter are often misunderstood, the Stuttering Foundation helps empower them to overcome the challenges presented by stuttering and achieve their greatest goals." Promoting understanding of stuttering, of course, has been one of our missions for over 68 years. Last year, we focused our event on authors and their books about stuttering and praised them for their courage in sharing their experiences. Last year, we gathered Vince Water. He visited more than 150 schools around the country since we last saw him a year ago, talking about his Newbery Award-winning book, Paperboy. I don't know if you've read it. If you haven't, you should get a copy. Alan Rabinowitz received the 2015 Sigurd Olson Nature Writing Award for his book, A Boy and a Jaguar. I know everybody here has a copy of this, right? If not, there's somebody in the back of the room you can see about that. This seminal book was also awarded the Schneider, it wasn't Phil Schneider, it was the Schneider Family Book Award, American Library Association. Scotty Damian continues to develop his book, The Voice, A Stutterer's Odyssey, into a musical production. And Anna Olswanger, who's here on the front row with us, turned her book into a film that's been out about a month now, a couple of months. So let's hear for Anna. But this year, we turn our attention to an entirely different subject, entrepreneurism. Tonight, we have two special guests talking on the subject. One is an entrepreneur inspired by the needs of her own family, who aspires to help those who stutter find their own entrepreneurial spirit. It's got to be the hardest word in the vocabulary. She's a third-generation president of Syndicate Sales, a family-owned manufacturer and distributor of floral hard goods. You'll need to talk to Laura about what those are. I should know. An entrepreneur at heart, she started her first business at 16 years old. Since then, she's started many other ventures. She's raised 4 children and served as athletic director for a school in South Georgia. Last year, she wrote an article for our website entitled Helping Our Graduates Succeed, challenging the stuttering community to pull together its resources to encourage and instill confidence in those who need it most, our loved ones who stutter. Let's give a warm welcome to Laura Shinall from Charleston, South Carolina.
Good evening. Wow, I've had an opportunity to speak to crowds with work, but coming here this evening to speak about stuttering and my son, it makes me nervous and it makes me emotional. So be patient with me if you would. I know that's a quality everyone here in this room has. So thank you very much, Jane. Thank you for inviting me this evening, and thank you for that kind introduction. And I am so happy to be here in support of this incredible foundation. But I gotta say, selfishly, I'm even happier to be here in support of my son, Mac Wilson, who, like most folks in this room, spend every single day persevering through his disfluency. So I'm a proud mama, and I'm happy to be here. So as Jane said, we have a family business in Kokomo, Indiana. So US Air loves me as I commute back and forth. Floral hard goods. Let me just answer that question real quickly before I get into the entrepreneurship. I'll bet everybody here has seen a little green tube that you fill with water and put a rubber cap on. Yes. My grandfather invented that in 1946. So, and then you've got the little acrylic or clear plastic pitchfork that holds the enclosure card. That was his third grade child. So from there we've grown to 1,200 items. I'm confident that most of you have. We have about 800 glass, bud vases, rose vases, things of that nature that molds we've designed and all. So if you've got them under your kitchen sink or whatever, get rid of it because we want you to get another one. In any case, I'm happy to be here this evening to talk about a topic that is just topics that are near and dear to my heart: entrepreneurship and mentoring. And I'm an entrepreneur by nature, and I'm also a mentor by nature. So when my son Mac graduated from Elon in 2009, I had an opportunity to witness firsthand the challenges that folks who stutter go through in terms of finding a job. I don't know the experience that you all had when you went to look for your first job, but even those of us that are fluent, when you go to that first interview, it's not good. So I watched Mac go through, and I thought, you know what? There's got to be a way that I can encourage young people, and I can put in place something that will help facilitate a positive outcome for these kids in their job search, because they need to be valued. They need to know that what they have to offer the world is just as important as the person next to them that is fluent. Because as everybody here knows, stuttering has nothing to do with intelligence. One of the things that I think is interesting and may not work in the stutterer's favor is technology. So while texting and all that is great for communication, when they go to find a job, what they do is they, most kids now go online, they go to either their career center or they go to monster.com or they go to one of those websites and they upload their resume and they click send. And the company who's receiving those resumes, they get thousands of them. Because, now it's not just about, oh, hey, my son is graduating and I'd like for you to interview him. What I went through, I was interviewed by a friend of the family. But that was a few years ago, and it's not the way that it's done anymore. So now you've got these thousands of resumes that are coming in from all over the country. And if your resume floats to the top, then you get picked. What do you get picked for? The phone interview. You get picked for a phone interview, which, for my son, I can tell you that wasn't the best news that he could ever receive. So he went through his resume, rose to the top 2, 3, 4, or 5 times, and every time out of the box, he didn't do very well in the phone interview. So I just that was really hard. That was hard for me as a parent, and I know it was hard for him as well. So technology is changing everything. I notice it in our business. I notice it in how I interact with folks, with friends. So I think that it's important that, sorry. Anyway, I remember one thing that my son said to me. He said, "Mom, if there are 100 applicants and 99 of them are fluent, why do they want me?" Well, they want you because you're you, because you have something to offer. So here was my response. Here was my response to Mac, and here's my response to college grads in general. There's good news. There's good news out there because there are options. First of all, we can encourage our young people to go back to school. And since the economic crash in 2008, grad schools have seen their applications just go through the roof. But you can also look outside your chosen field. I've encouraged some stutterers that I've spoken with to look outside. Don't be hung up on what you do, what your degree is in. Be willing to do whatever, and continue to show initiative. I don't care if you're stocking grocery shelves or you are waiting tables. Whatever it is that you can do to show that you have drive and initiative. But the third thing that I tell them, and this is the one that's nearest and dear to my heart, hire yourself. Be an entrepreneur. Show those goofballs out there that wouldn't give you an opportunity to complete your phone interview that they missed out on an awesome opportunity, that you have something really worthwhile to offer. I have to brag on my son a little bit. He took that to heart, and he got his real estate license, and he has a love for home design, and so he buys old bungalows and renovates them and then sells them. So he's hired himself, and he's done quite well in 2 or 3 different markets, and so I'm very proud of him. But as Jane mentioned, I did write an article a couple of years ago, and in it I kind of gave a call to action. What I really had envisioned and had hoped to see was that the stuttering community would come together, and we would be able to form a network where businesses and communities across the country who are willing to hire young people who stutter could link up with young people in their resumes. And so if we could find some sort of network, some kind of clearinghouse where young people who stutter that can't find a job can upload their resumes, and folks in the business community throughout the country who have said, yes, we will hire a stutterer. If you're qualified, I'm not asking for a free pass here. I'm looking for qualified applicants. But they're willing to look at them differently. They're not willing to, they're willing to Skype or to interview them in a place where the stutterer can actually have some success in the interview process. But that's a lot of work. I had a chance to visit with Nick in the background, the gentleman that you're going to hear in a moment, and as an entrepreneur, we were discussing that, and anytime that you can take away the fear from a young college grad, that applicant that already is nervous about getting his or her first job, and then you couple that with the fact that they stutter. Anytime we can remove an obstacle and we can say, you know what, you're going to go in and you're going to have to do the interview, but it's with a friendly face. They understand, they recognize, and they're going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I have to tell you, I didn't get any responses. At least not from the business community, and I was disappointed. But who I did get responses from those young people. My phone rang off the hook and my email blew up from young people around the country that said, I read your article, what do you have for me? I said, I got nothing. I got nothing. I didn't get anybody in the business community that responded. I didn't get anybody that said, I want to help. So I took in as many resumes as I could, and I passed them out to friends that I knew. But I was disheartened. And that article came out in the fall of 2013, and I got another call last week from a young lady. So 2 years later, this article is still resonating with the ones that need help. And sometimes they call and they just cry. Sometimes they call and they just vent because they're angry. And sometimes they call because they just need to know that they're valued, that somebody is going to listen to them and support them. And I've gotten calls from parents not just from the stutterers, but I've gotten calls from parents saying, can you help my son or can you help my daughter? So I just want to say tonight there's a need. We've got amazing young kids out there who I'm hoping that a lot of them have the same entrepreneurial spirit that Mac has and that Nick has, and that they can hire themselves and they can go out and they can make their way and they can have success and feel valued. There's an awful lot of them that don't have the entrepreneurial spirit or don't have the financial wherewithal to do that. So I'm here tonight to ask if we can just be in this together and if we can help our college grads get connected. And so if anyone in this room has any inkling and any desire to work with me, and I'm sure Jane would be willing to dive in there as well and help us to form a network to help our young folks enjoy the fruits of their labor just like we do. That's it.